Hi, guys. Welcome to Chemo Glow, where the glow doesn't define me, I define the glow. Please check out our YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please share, follow, and subscribe. Also, check us out where podcasts are available. If you're interested on being on our show, please email us at chemoglow@gmail.com. Thank you for joining us tonight for our program, Triple Threat, where we'll be discussing what does triple negative mean in the breast cancer world. But before I bring on my guest tonight from podcast 15, episode 15, It Takes a Village, I would like to play a little excerpt from the episode.
So I was like, I'm not even going to go. I really wasn't going to go because I was going to go in October.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just had a mammogram the previous October and in December to prepare for the surgery. And they were like, hold on. So she goes and gets the resident, and he does an exam. He looks, and then they do an ultrasound. And then they're like, hold on. And so this was lunchtime because, had to get ready to go to
Did
the
you
mall.
go get lunch? Were you going to get lunch at the
I,
mall?
I was gonna get lunch either at the mall or in the cafeteria. It was gonna be after the mammogram.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes. And so they said, "Wait a minute." And this was 9 years ago. The UNC Cancer Hospital had just recently opened about
Mm-hmm.
that time, and they had the old hospital, which was it was. Thank God for the new UNC Cancer Hospital. It was a whole lot better than the old place. But they were also UNC was also in the midst of turning all their records from paper or film to digital records.
Uh-huh.
And some of my records were they had to go to the basement and pull the records
Okay, that's old
because
school.
yeah, because I had been going for several years.
Uh-huh.
And so it turns out, that was about 1, 2 o'clock. They did another exam.
Uh-huh.
They wanted some more images. They looked
Mm-hmm. Of
again.
course. Of
So
course.
there's like 3, 4, and they're like, sit there. So I'm sitting in the gown,
In the
and
room, or did they send you back
they
out?
they send me back out in the waiting room
Isn't that the worst?
with the women everybody's in the pajamas and they're watching the Martha Stewart show.
Yes, that is the worst. I always ask for two gowns so I can have front, back, and then I'm
Yes.
looking like, am I the only one with one boob in here? Like, what's really going on? So go
With,
ahead. Go ahead.
yes. But my thing was people were coming and going,
Yeah.
coming and going, and they were like, "Hold on, you okay?" And then I was like, "Can I have a warm blanket?" By the way, you can ask for warm blankets, and
I
they'll
didn't
pull
know
them
that.
out, and they'll when you get real cold, if you sit there for a while, practically naked, they'll give you blankets.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a couple of warm blankets because they were cooling off.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, "Hold on, we'll be back. We're
Mm-hmm.
looking for something." And then they came back again. They did Dr. Lee, who
Uh-huh.
is the head radiologist, one of the faculty attending radiologists, who you should never see till the very end when
Mm-hmm.
they go, "Good job, see you next year." That's her job. That's her main
Yeah.
job, is to say, "Good job, see you
See you
next
next
year."
year, but this time.
But this time she came in the room to examine me, and I was like, "Okay,
Uh-huh.
sure." And remember, it was still one boob. And so all this was going on about that one. And then she says, she examined me,
Mm-hmm.
and it was almost 5. I had been there. I didn't eat. I was so
So
hungry.
you hadn't
I
had
was
anything to
hangry.
eat. You're hot,
I
cold, hot, cold.
hot cold, and I got stuff to do. I needed a bit. I was only
You
going to
need
be
an
gone for an hour
outfit.
and a half. I needed an outfit for a concert. I was going on a date. I was like, I got stuff
Mm.
to do.
I would tell you, cancer doesn't care what you're doing at the time. When it shows up, it comes to seek and destroy. Even mint
Yeah.
conditioning concert tickets. Even mint condition concert tickets. If you listen to podcast 15, you will understand that you're there all day long sometimes. And during that time, you forget the little things. But I am so happy to welcome my guest, Terri Robinson, to the show. Hey, sweetie.
Sure. Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good.
You know I've listened to that podcast like 3 times since we
Today was my
talked.
first
Like,
time in a while.
huh?
Today was my first time in a while.
First time, yeah, because normally I don't give a preview podcast to someone, but you, my friend, requested it. So she listened to it before it was edited, before I even got it back from our editing producer, because that was a very good podcast. She was a little concerned, right?
I was very concerned.
Okay, so tell me
Yeah.
why. You sounded great.
I
You got
didn't
so
think
many
there was
views right
anything
now.
I didn't look. I didn't think there was anything interesting or different to say. I was worried about it. No.
Everybody says that. I don't know if this is going to be so interesting. It was one of the best out there. So
Well,
all
thank
my
you. I
podcasts
appreciate
have
that.
been great. Everyone has listened to it. We have people on who love you. And I'm just so happy that you're joining us tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate being here with you.
Well, go ahead and introduce yourself. I gave a little preview, but just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Terri Robinson. I'm a Durham resident. When all this was going on, Chapel Hill resident. I was raising a teenager at the time, and I am now almost in a few months, 2 months, there'll be my 10-year cancer anniversary. So
10
yes,
years. Well,
10
Terri, I
years
want you
out.
to come a little bit closer to your mic is not turned up because you have a mic right there.
Uh
So
huh.
turn it up a little bit so our
Turn
guests
it up.
can hear you. We got to be able to hear you, girl. We got to be able to hear you. Yeah, when I did this podcast, I kept saying May because that was your 10 year. But
That
you
was my.
also have a birthday coming up.
I have a birthday coming up, so this is what I'm doing for my birthday.
Yes, you're doing this for your birthday, right? So thank
Yes.
you. And that's why I brought it in a little bit early because I wanted to celebrate you on your birthday. So
Well, thank you
happy
very much.
birthday.
Presents are still welcome now.
Of course they are. Well, Terri, we talked about how you were diagnosed, but a little bit before then, you have had a couple of surgeries.
I did. I had a
Okay.
couple of surgeries. Yes.
So tell us a
Um,
little bit about that.
the surgeries were I had debris in my milk ducts,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd had three. That was the checkup to where they found the cancer was actually a checkup, a mammogram just for the surgical area, and they just accidentally found the cancer while they were doing the checkup for that. So thank goodness.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness
Yes.
for accidents. Your sister is on and Tasha is wishing you a happy birthday. And when you were getting that diagnosis, the last thing you're thinking about is your next birthday. What's going on? First, you was thinking about mint condition tickets and
Yes.
going to a concert that Friday.
I was well. There was cancer was not something that was in my family.
Mm-hmm.
Other things, but that was just not something I had ever thought of. Knew many people that had it, so it was no on the polyps that there were polyps that were in my
Yes.
milk ducts. That was the worst thing I thought could happen, but it was not. And so it was just Woo!
That
It
was a
was
lot.
something new and different, and it was aggressive, and so
Well, let's talk
like,
about your
ooh,
diagnosis. When you say aggressive, we're talking about triple negative. Tell us a little bit
triple
about triple
negative.
negative.
Triple negative breast cancer doesn't have the estrogen. It's not estrogen positive or negative, and everything is negative. So what they do is you don't have to take medicine afterwards. Where some women take hormone and hormone therapy. It
Mm-hmm.
is a cancer that women who are it's usually younger women. It's usually ethnic minorities, black, Hispanic, Indian, Asian Indians, and it can be very aggressive. And so, even though lots of different people do have it, it can strike younger women, and it can strike pretty fast. And I had a mammogram about 6 months before, because of the surgery, and it had grown exponentially since then, and
So
it wasn't there before.
so 6 months before you had just had a mammogram,
Hmm.
and then having another, going in for your appointment, that was the last thing you were expecting because you just had a mammogram 6 months before.
Right.
So the
I
last
did.
thing you thought was, I'm going to get in here. I'm going to get through this parking lot. I'm going to find a park, first of all.
Yes.
I would grab some lunch and I'm gonna be out of here. And in the podcast, you talked about how that blue room, that waiting room that you sit in and you watch Martha Stewart or whatever home improvement store is on, story is on, and you sit there and you wait for the doctor to come back and see you. And you don't want them to say, "Hey, just wait right there. Do you need another blanket?" Because that means they're looking at something else.
They're looking at something.
When was the moment
And
that you knew that something was going on?
when the resident went to go get the attending, uh, when you're getting a mammogram, it's the technician, and the technician might go get the resident to look at the film. But when the attendant comes into your room or wants to see you in the room, they have concerns, and
Mhm.
so that was like, oh, there might be something there, and it was still like something there. I don't know what, but something. And
Yeah.
so that was concerning. Yes.
And when Dr. Lee comes in, because she is the one that says, "Good job. See you next time."
See you next
She-
time. Yes, yes. And she and I have done, this is maybe my sixth or seventh mammogram.
wow.
Even though I was younger, I had just been going because I had the issues before, and you really just don't have the attending coming. You go to their little cubicle and they look at the film, and they put their initials and they say, "See you next time," and that was it. And she was like, "Really, you need to come back.
Mhm.
You really need this." And
So coming
so,
back the following week, what was it like for you?
um, then it was truly concerning because the doctor, well, they were talking through it, and you're getting a biopsy, and you're numb but not completely asleep.
Mhm.
And he, instead of aspirating it, drawing the cells out with a needle, he had to cut it. He said it was big enough where they cut a piece of it and to send it in to the lab, and they sounded concerned. And he was like, "Well, I really can't say, it needs to go to the lab, but please
You
follow up
know.
with your doctor."
Yeah.
They're like, "Make sure you follow up." Yeah, go ahead. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, we always know when the doctors are coming in and their facial expressions change. They're kind, but they're also just a little bit more extra little. I squeeze your shoulder, right? I
Yes.
just want, to let you know it's okay. Follow up with your doctor. Um, Jill mentioned, she just said there's a lot of new research out here. And in the podcast, you talked about the treatment that you received, which was a clinical trial. Was it a clinical
Hmm.
trial? It's no
Yes.
longer used.
Avastin. It was a steady drug,
Uh-huh.
and they determined after, that was one of the drugs that they determined that it was maybe too dangerous for breast cancer patients. So
Hmm.
it's not something that they use regularly anymore. It was just, it caused high blood pressure, neuropathy,
Mhm.
and I had nosebleeds all the time. I'd be sitting somewhere and nosebleed. It was very dangerous.
Mhm.
Lost a lot of white cells, and it was just, I thought it was helpful, and it does work, but the finding the happy midpoint is something just like you just couldn't do. So I'm glad I had it. I'm glad I was being helpful to people.
Mm-hmm.
But um, from what I can tell now, the therapies are much more targeted,
Yes, which is
and
great.
so which is great.
Yeah. A lot of that is with breast cancer and cancer treatment. There are a lot of more targeted treatments, which is great because it's less side effects, you
Yes.
know? So you're going on 10 years out. So it's definitely different as far as treatment and other things that are going on. But during your time going through treatment, what's some of the things you had to face?
Had to face the biggest thing was still working and being a mom.
Mm-hmm.
I had a teenager. I was diagnosed. He was in the 11th grade. So the main part of the treatment, it was his senior year of high school. That was my biggest issue and biggest
Yeah.
concern, was that making sure that he was okay and that I was okay for him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then just the issues that were going on with it and being out there. I went in the hospital twice.
Mm-hmm.
I had fevers and had needed blood transfusions, and I hurt my ankle. I fell,
Mm-hmm.
and just stuff.
So
Lots
much
of
stuff. I
stuff.
think we have a picture of you and your son. It was at his high school football game. In this
Homecoming
picture,
game.
homecoming, were you going through
Yes,
treatment at this time?
I was going through treatment at that time.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. And you had to
yeah.
make sure that you were there for Jordan, huh?
Yes, I was there for Jordan. Or, I'm not even sure. I might have had a mask that I put in my pocket because I really shouldn't have been out at that
Mhm,
time at night without
mhm.
that many people, like we do now.
Yeah,
Before masks were cool.
yeah.
And so, but a friend of mine, that gentleman, Tom Meyer, he was going to go with my son, and then I ended up going, but I got to be there, and so that was nice.
It was
But
nice.
it was nice.
A lot of people don't know that you can't be around other people. You're not even supposed to eat from buffets. Like we were going through a pandemic when, cancer was the pandemic. The things they told us that we couldn't do, that's what we were told. And we could not be out. We couldn't be around
Yeah.
people. It wasn't safe.
My favorite one was, you can't eat raw fish or sushi. You
Yes.
can't
And
have
you're,
sushi.
oh,
I love sushi. And the only time I could have sushi in that time, one of my friends took me to a restaurant in between the chemo and the surgery.
mm-hmm.
Once I finished the chemo, I had a couple of weeks before the next thing, which was the surgery. And I went to a restaurant with a friend, and she was like, "Order what you want." And I was like, "Are you sure?" And it was like, "Wow."
Just like you did with Jordan when you told him you had cancer, what'd you do? You took him to a place and you
And tell
said,
them to order
order
what you
what you
want.
want, right? Order what you want. And your son is so special. He's actually going to do a podcast.
Yes.
After you did yours, you told me that he was interested and we set some time up and then something happened, but he's actually going to do a podcast to talk about how it was for his mother to go through cancer and him to be in his senior year.
Yes.
And I heard that you learned a couple of things about that after the podcast, like how he really felt about it.
He was like, "You really didn't talk to me a lot." And I thought I was protecting him.
Yeah.
And to him, it was like he wasn't getting enough information. And
Hmm.
so it'll be interesting to hear him talk to you like, "Oh, okay."
You can't
And
be in the
so,
room.
no, I can't be in the room.
Someone else wants to see the podcast as well. You cannot be in the room. I'm going to make sure that you're not there so he can just be as free as you were during that podcast. So I can't
Yeah.
wait to talk to Jordan. Well, there was a couple of other things that happened during your time. from lymphedema. We share that. It
Yes,
sucks. Eggs, like it sucks.
it really sucks.
Tell us a little bit
Um,
about your lymphedema.
I was I had never heard of it before. I didn't know. I've seen people who have it on their legs, but I didn't know it came sometime after radiation. I was completely done with treatment, and I was in the middle of working out at Get Real and Heal. And one day I woke up and my arm was swollen.
Mhm.
So I didn't even go to, some people go and get lymphedema, they get the baselines checked, during radiation or during treatment. And I never actually really heard anything about that, about the swelling. But I think I had 21 lymph nodes removed,
Mhm.
and three were cancerous.
Wow.
So it was like, whoo. So it swelled, and I had to do the. I walked around with, like, people thought I was a burn victim
Me too. Like,
because it's big mummy, big wrappings in my arm, to get the swelling down,
mhm.
and so that's just something intensive that's going to be with me for the rest of my life.
I call it the third
And
wheel. I call it the
yes,
third wheel. And Get Real and Heal is like a great place to go because they understand the different side effects
yes,
from cancer treatment. And it's amazing that you said that we were supposed to get a baseline. They didn't tell me that until after I was in treatment. My therapist said, "Did you get a baseline?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "You should have had a baseline. That way we could
yes.
have helped you during treatment." And now we're living with lymphedema. I have stage 2 lymphedema. Just keep adding on the stages, why don't you? Um, have stage 2 lymphedema, and it's not going to go anywhere. So it's constant swelling. It affects the way you dress, how you
Mhm.
dress, what you put on. Like sometimes you can see that my shirt is a little higher on one side. It's because my arm is doing some swelling, and we have to wear these nice little things on our arms. And I have this beautiful machine at home that pumps all the fluid out. And before COVID, we were able to go get treatment. We actually shared the same therapist.
Yes.
Yeah, she's great and she's coming on. So I can't wait for her to come on to talk a little bit more about lymphedema treatment. Yeah, the sleeves. Tasha knows her mom, the sleeves are just,
And the
they're,
lymphedema, the sleeves are actually pretty cool. They have designer sleeves, but because my lymphedema is bad enough where I have to wear the medical grade. So
yes, the
I
custom.
don't, yeah, so I don't get to wear the design or the ones with the catchy phrases.
Yeah.
So
Well, they're
yeah,
coming out with them.
okay.
So they cost a grip. I just had to, mine was just $500 for the sleeve. And I
Oh,
wear a sleeve and a glove. So the sleeve was 500 and then the
yes.
glove was another 2 something. Think
I
about
don't.
people who don't have insurance and can't afford that.
Yes, yes. I don't like the glove, and I actually got mine cut shorter because my hand, I just didn't like the way it feels.
Yeah.
So I kind of skipped the glove more than anything.
Yeah. It's another reminder of what we've been through, right?
Right. That the neuropathy, um, that might be the neuropathy is one of the things that makes me want to exercise as much as I possibly can,
Mhm.
because having nerve damage in my hands and feet, and that made me, for a while I had to take ibuprofen before I got to bed. I would put my two pills down at night with a
Mhm.
glass of water, and then I would have to take a pain pill just to get up, and it was like moving like a robot needed some oil or something,
Yeah.
and it was just getting started. But once you got started, it would be okay.
Mhm.
um, but it was hard to get started in the morning, or your joints would ache, and the nerves at the end of your feet were hurt, and it's just
But
standing.
exercise, yeah, but exercise actually
Exercise,
makes you feel better. It actually
exercise,
works.
yes,
It makes you feel better. It's easier to move. And on top of the sleeves and everything else you have to do, exercise is the key.
yes,
It'll keep the swelling down, believe it or not. Right. So I
yes.
need to do a little bit more of that. Before we keep moving on, we need to talk about how we met.
Except for, are we both a little hazy on it?
I know there's always one person in common, and that's Talanya.
It's Talanya, yes.
Yeah.
And I met you all through the Sisters Network, which
Mm-hmm.
is a women African American women's cancer support group,
Mm-hmm.
and we were attending in Durham, and Talanya and her mom was there with me and my mom,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe the next meeting I met you, and then you all told me about the Young Survivors Coalition at the
Yes.
UNC hospital, or might have given me the forms for it, but I didn't go to any of the support groups during treatment. I really didn't start them until after treatment. I was a little. I was busy before, because this cancer thing I was gonna do. So I didn't have enough time to work on support groups and things. And by the time I probably needed them, I was too sick to drive, go
Mm-hmm.
anywhere, didn't feel well. And so I reached out to the president of the Sisters Network in the middle of a panic attack in the middle of the night,
Mm-hmm.
which is, you're always grateful for organizations. And that's what, they're there for,
And they'll pick
is
up in the middle of the night.
they pick up in the middle of the night. But I was emailing her, a stranger, she was a lifeline when I don't read the forms
Mm-hmm.
too much. Give yourself a time limit
Mm-hmm.
reading the forms and researching your cancer.
Yes, yes. And Valerie Worthy, she is worthy to be praised here because
She is
she
worthy
is
to be
the one
praised.
that I called in the middle of a moment that I was having. And she was like, you just need to come meet someone. And that's where I met Talanya. I brought my sister with me to the first support group, and it was happened to be on my birthday. I just left chemo. My sister came down, and she went with me to the actual meeting where she boo-hooed the whole entire time while I was sitting up there mad.
Well,
Chemo, birthday, cancer, no fun in this. But yeah, but those support
well,
groups are wonderful, and the Young Survivor Coalition, I think that's where we really started to know each other because we
yes,
used to go all the time. Yes, thank you to the Sisters Network for representing you. They are so great. So
they did.
and we need to, and even with the sister with the Young Survivor Coalition, we were able to go to different places, experience different things. So it's not that you're just sitting in a room.
Right.
I don't think you went on our kayaking trip where we were jumping out of stuff and boating, and I was falling in the water and all kinds of stuff, but they offer other benefits, so they actually link up with other support
Yes.
groups, so you're
Other
not just
support.
stuck in one, because everyone doesn't work for you. So
No.
you have to move on.
And you need a little bit here and a little bit there. And that's why they're there. Yeah.
Yeah. So being diagnosed with triple negative, you said it's not a hormone. You don't have a hormone receptor to it. So is there anything outside of your treatment, which was chemotherapy, surgery, and radiation?
Mm-hmm.
And what happens after that?
They
Say
then
peace.
you just they cut you loose. Like
Deuces.
yes. It's we'll see you once a month. Then it's every 3 months and 6 months. I'm at the point now where they see you every year. And last year, my doctor was, maybe you can start seeing your family physician. And I was like, maybe not.
I said the same thing.
And so, yes, I'm now getting a little bit more used to the idea.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, just in case,
Yeah.
um,
Because you're getting closer to that 10-year mark.
I'm getting
And they
closer to
want you
that
to
10.
realize that it's time for you to move on.
Yeah.
Move on. You're not actively in treatment. But let me ask you about your first doctor that you had. How important was he to you from UNC?
My first surgeon.
Yeah, your Dr. Amos.
Dr. Amos, he was so important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the other doctor that you love, I actually switched
Mm-hmm.
surgeons.
Mm-hmm.
I had a surgeon who everyone was like, he is amazing.
Yeah,
He's awesome. You're getting the hot shot of the hospital.
he was.
And he was the hot shot of the hospital, but I was like, dude is just, he was not warm and fuzzy
Mm-hmm.
that I needed at the time. But and he went on a fellowship trip to Australia, and it was like, well, we have another doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and I got Dr. Amos and loved him.
Loved him.
Um, he was just he gave me the warm and fuzzies that I needed. He was a surgeon. I even met him out at a Sisters Network event and
Mm-hmm.
asked a question in a luncheon. And he was like, well, in your case, da, da, da. And I was like, oh, he knows my case. He made me feel good. He made my mom feel good. And
Mm-hmm.
just, and then right before he passed away, I had a physical, because I think he passed away in June. I had a
Mm-hmm.
physical right before he passed away. And on his way to Ireland,
Yep,
he
Ireland.
actually was calling because he gave me an extra exam. I kept having scar tissue under my
Mhm.
arm. As a black woman, I had keloids from my
Yeah.
surgery scars that I actually had to have plastic surgeon remove. And so he was like, "Well, let's just get this looked at." And he called to tell me. I think he was on his way somewhere. That's
Mm-hmm.
where he was going. And so, yes, I took that very hard, like everyone else did,
He
because
was
he was
amazing. He was
amazing.
actually on his way to Ireland for a conference, a physician conference. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, he passed away while he was there. And he was amazing. And what's crazy is my doctor, Dr. Lilla,
He is
Mr. Warm,
amazing.
Warm and Fuzzy. I actually caught him right before he went on that trip.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, both of them were recommended to me, and his schedule just happened to be open. But both of them are great
Great
doctors.
doctors,
Yeah.
and yes, who he's now. Well, I don't have a surgeon anymore because I don't
Hmm.
need a surgeon anymore. But he was my surgeon,
Yeah.
and we seem to have worked it out.
Well, that is so great. Well, what are you doing now? After you're celebrating, you're a big celebrator. For you to
Yes.
be um, COVID celebrating your birthday. I know last year we were on a Zoom. I know you're going to do something this year. You'll probably have us outside 12 feet apart with our mask on,
Probably.
backyard. So, how are you feeling about coming up on your 10-year and celebrating your birthday?
I'm looking forward to it. I really didn't talk a lot about the cancer,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that the 10 year is actually going to be
That's okay.
so.
Your camera moving a little bit.
Yeah, so it's just going. It'll be nice. It's just
Yeah.
nice to celebrate my sisters and my family, and it's like, yay!
Yes.
This is an important thing.
I so appreciate you talking about this, on and near your birthday, because you helped me when I was starting out with Chemo Glow. I've been starting out with Chemo Glow since 2013, but when I really started to take it serious, and you had a lot going on at that time, but you actually had a lot of time. And so
Yes.
you've seen me kind of mold this, do different things, and you celebrated with me when we hit that first button to first put the first podcast out that I was holding on to for 6 freaking months. So you're
Yes.
big on celebrating, and you're also big on family. One of the things that we touched on briefly in the podcast was about your village, right?
Yes.
Everybody who was in your village. And I did
Yes.
not get a chance to meet one of your sisters. But you played such a big role in her life, as well as did your other sisters and your mother, with helping her out with what she was going through. Would you like to talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's important.
It is important. One of my sisters, I'm the oldest of five girls. One of my sisters, the one next to me, had ALS.
Mhm.
And so she was in the army and she passed away from it, but it was just right as my cancer was receding and we were kind of celebrating, we found out that she had ALS, and it was like, really?
Yeah.
And so, but she could find something. There was, and all the focus went from that to the cancer. My mom was practice caregiving with me. My mother did a great job caregiving of me, but it was really practice for what she really had to go through next, because it
Yeah.
was a big thing. Not only my sister, she was helping my sister with her grandchildren, and it was just a lot. And
And your sister
so
was also diagnosed with breast cancer, but because of her ALS diagnosis, that was the focus.
that was the focus. In fact, they didn't even, I don't think, really treat. They didn't even really treat it. It was
Yeah.
just, okay, well, yeah, that's fine. And
Yeah.
so she had other things going on. By then she was in a wheelchair.
Mhm.
So even having a mammogram, trying to get having a mammogram in a wheelchair,
Mm.
difficult. So
That's
yes.
yeah. I've never thought about that, having to go in and have a mammogram while you're in a wheelchair. The machine only goes down but so far.
Hmm.
So adjusting to doing that. Those are the things that we don't think about, right? On top
Right.
of everything else. Well, you made sure that you gave your give back when you did a Avon walk
Oh,
for
yes.
breast cancer, right?
Yes.
And you did everything in honor of your family, in honor of your sisters, in honor of your mom being this great caregiver. You did this Avon walk, which I said you were crazy for.
I'm never doing that again. I did
Tell us
it.
a little bit about it.
It is a marathon and a half.
Hmm.
So it's 26 miles the first day and 13 the second.
Hmm.
And I will only now do wine tastings for breast cancer. So sign me up for all of those. Um, in fact, when it was my goal in Get Real and Heal
Hmm.
to train for the walk,
Hmm.
and I was in a group called the Urban Triangle. It was just it was a group of people. They supported me. It was a social group, but as a member, they supported me. They fundraised. They gave me money. They fundraised for other things. And a couple of members of the Urban Triangle were runners, which I am not,
Hmm.
and they were gonna run walk with me, and so one of the ladies in the picture, Callie, we were doing it, and she stuck with me. One of
Yeah.
the runners was like, "I'll see y'all at the finish line," and but Callie was with me, and somewhere probably I think at about mile 23, I was like, "Well, maybe we'll go to DC or California and do the walk next year, the year after, because
Hmm.
I'm not gonna make this. I'm just gonna call the shuttle and have them come pick me up. I can't do this anymore." And Callie was like, "I am here. We are
Yes.
going to finish this. We are going
Hmm.
to run. We are getting to the end, and then we're going to do tomorrow, and then we are done." and and I was like, okay. And so, and it was great, and it was nice to know that my friends were out there really, really helping me with this.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but
Patrice
I
says that
finished.
you are amazing, and a marathon and a half after treatment is very impressive. Very
Yes,
impressive. Because y'all
after,
slept in tents, right? Am I right?
and
At
we
night.
slept in the tent. Yes,
That's
we
the only
did.
reason why I would not. That is it.
And you don't have. Well, I was like, I'm going for the full experience.
Yeah, you did.
You,
You went. You asked me to do it
the
too. And if
I
we could
did,
glam,
and you said no.
no, if it was glamping, I would be there. I would be there.
No.
Yeah, they say
Um,
you're a total rock star during this process. I mean, you are one of the ones that will call me and say, "Are you going to the meeting?" Yeah, no, I just got in from out of town for a training. Regina, just meet me out there and I'll meet you out there. And it was worth going because for a minute, neither one of us talked about our cancer. I only talked in
Right.
my phone about my cancer, right? I only recorded what was going on with me. And anyone who knew me going through that time, I was very private about my cancer. And at one point, you stopped talking about what was going on with you.
Yes, I
Yeah, because
did.
you have those moments, right?
You do. You need some privacy. At the time, I was looking for a new job, and it just didn't. It was so close to it. I didn't want. It's very difficult, especially when you're out and you're looking for work and you're doing different things. You don't really want to talk about things like that, or
Mhm,
seem weak, or seem sickly, or
mhm.
and it's just when you finally you just have to let it all go.
Let it all go.
You get to a different stage in your life, and
Mhm,
so um, one of the things I did do was if someone would call me or someone would refer a person, hey, my friend's has breast cancer, can you talk to them? Or one of my sisters had someone reach out to me, or because someone did for me. My friend Patrice introduced me to another woman who lived in Durham, in my
mhm,
hometown, and I didn't meet her until a year after my
mhm,
treatment was over. But she would answer phone calls, and she would tell me to exercise. She would tell me what medicine. She would tell me different things to do. Oh, get this pillow, get this deodorant, do this,
mhm.
and I needed it. And she was just a voice on the phone. I think I met her at a concert a year later, where I was like, "Are you Joy?" and she was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh," but it being there for other people is important.
It is important. That's how I met Patrice, who
Yes,
already knew my husband because her and her brother and my husband went to school together. Um,
yes.
so small world, and I can't wait to have her on the show too because we're talking about single dating and breast cancer.
It
That is a topic right
is a
there.
topic.
And now
Yes.
you throw the pandemic on top of that, and you tell me how that works for you. So.
Oh, that will be interesting. I can't wait to hear that.
I might need you to sit on that panel. You never know.
Never know.
Well, what are some other things that you've done? Yeah, it is a small world. It's truly a small world that your brother, my husband, knows each other from a small town. And the fact that he used to ride home with Patrice's brother from school. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So that is so crazy. But just that connection, I have that connection now with Patrice because of you. I have the connection with someone else that you recommended because of you. Um, Tasha, who's up here, Tasha Dawkins and James. Um, I just had one of their friends text me yesterday, and I talked to her in October. Tasha Prescott, who I met through my sister, I now reach out to her because exercise is so important. So it's like a small world. And when you meet these wonderful people who pour into you, it's
Yes.
amazing.
It is amazing.
And that's what the glow is about.
Yeah.
That is truly what the glow is about. And exercise does make everything feel better. When I get off of here, I will be jumping on my Peloton just for 30. Then I'm going to hit the squats. I'm going to do a little bit of arm. I got to get these cheekbones back. Got to get them back. So tell us a little bit about what are you doing this weekend for your birthday?
My birthday is a month and a half long celebration, and actually, it has been extended. You want to know because I get my second COVID vaccination shot April 5th.
Yes.
So, I need to. It needs to be all the way until the end of April
Mm-hmm.
because I need a couple weeks after to
Uh-huh.
be quite ready, and just need. I want to see things, see people. Um, Going for sushi.
Yes. That's our place.
um, and just celebrate. It's been a long time. I think my birthday was one of the first friends' birthdays that we did a Zoom thing.
Yeah.
And so we were just kind of like, okay, what is this? Well, sure, okay. I don't, and it was a mess, but we're ready now.
Ready to see people. Well, what would
Ready to
you
see people.
what would you say to people who've been diagnosed with triple negative? Because coming back to where I said I call this the triple threat, right?
Mhm.
Because you talked about your faith, your family, and your friends. And to me, that's what the triple threat was. When you were diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer, you had your faith, your family, and your friends. So I put a
Yes.
play on words because they were so important to you, and you wanted to make sure that everybody that touched your life that you mentioned them. And I said, you can't mention all of them, but what we
No,
can do
again,
is to say thank you.
thank you.
And
Yes,
you
it really did take all of these people and the people who did the food and the driving. A different person took me to the doctor every week.
Mhm,
Um, and pick me, stay with me, pick me up. Cousins,
mhm,
book clubs, PTA. Um, Lots of people. My sisters and friends came and did things that people went to my son's football games and cheered him on. Um, my sister,
I knew she was
well,
gonna say that.
my sisters are amazing. They were there with me. In fact, they were there with me so much. My son felt he goes, y'all are just a little club, and
Yeah,
I'm not in the club. So there was that part, but um, they were. Uh, Fran and Roby, my,
yeah,
my other two sisters, and Lisa. It just everyone was just. It was so important to have all these people and to be there for us. My sister Frank cut her hair. Everybody cut their hair.
mhm.
My friend Cody, he actually went bald when I went bald.
Oh, I think I have a picture of your friend and Cody. Look at you guys. Oh my
Round
goodness.
heads. My one
Support.
of my sisters, she cut her hair really short. A few, just friends did that just in support.
And
That
you
was
did a photo shoot because you said this is the best you felt. You didn't look like what you were
yeah.
going through. And you did a beautiful photo shoot of yourself. Look at you
With the short hair,
with the short
yeah.
hair. Look at that smile, Terry. Oh my
That is
goodness.
honestly a chemo glow.
That is a
That
chemo.
is the third week of chemo.
Oh my goodness. And I think we have another picture of you with the third week of chemo. You decided, look
Yeah,
at that smile. You
yeah.
decided to do a photo shoot.
And it was, yes, and it was seeing it. I don't think I felt as great as the pictures captured,
Yeah.
but seeing it was like, wow, that looks
Yeah.
great. Especially since the week afterwards, I was talking in a meeting at work, and I did like this, and a
Uh,
line of my hair came off, and I had a ball strip because I was talking, and I rubbed my head.
the things we go through.
Yeah, so it was like, so just after that, I had to end up shaving it all off.
Well, you guys, if you have any questions for us, this is the time. Any tips here you can share to survive breast cancer for 2 years? I can't wait to get there. Any tips? 10 years, excuse me.
Be healthy. I be healthy, and honestly, you can't worry about it. But number one is follow doctor's orders, exercise, try to eat right, try to be a healthy weight.
Hmm.
That's a struggle for me.
Hmm.
Um, but you can't think about it. I mean, because it could come and not, and there's different things and different people that just
Hmm.
in those 10 years, so much has happened
Yes.
that, and every year or whenever I go to the doctor, I have high anxiety about the
Hmm.
appointments,
Yes.
and then and sometimes the appointments might be more than one. We need a test, we need to do a biopsy. Um, it just kind of comes and goes. um, do your best to do what they ask,
Yeah.
and then just let it go.
Let it go, right? Because you're gonna have
Yeah.
those periods. I'll be coming up on 10 years in April. I plan to
Wow.
celebrate. We were supposed to be in Fiji. We're not gonna be in Fiji
Ooh, that sounds nice.
because we'll be celebrating 10 years cancer free and 10 years married. So,
Congratulations.
yes, congratulations to you. So, I cannot wait to celebrate that 10 with you. And everybody who has been on, they have said some wonderful things. They love your pictures. They loved that you did the Avon walk. Your sisters are not playing. They wanted to make sure they were up here. Your mom as
Yes.
well. She loved the short hair. So I am so glad to everyone. Is there anything you would like to say to all my listeners and Robin Roberts?
Okay, Robin Roberts, please come on her podcast. That's number one.
That's our
Two
inside
is
joke.
two, um, have faith. Um, gather your family around and your friends, and actually use the people that are in your life. A lot of people, especially, are always don't want to talk about it. Cancer was a secret, like
Mhm.
you almost didn't know,
Yeah.
and sometimes people want to help it. If you I love the lots of helping hands
Mhm.
and the things like that, because if you do give an assignment, people will come and help.
Yeah.
And so just put it out there. One of the assignments was drive me to a football game, or one was take my son school shopping,
Yeah.
um, um, deliver dinners, or things like that. Just, you know, even if they don't have to interact.
Yeah.
So sometimes just talk, be a little bit more open
Be a little
is
bit more.
there. And so yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Terry, for finally coming on my live. I
You're
appreciate it so
welcome.
much. This has been amazing. And I want to thank you again because you're going to be coming on again because we're going to talk about single, dating, breast cancer, all that good stuff.
Maybe.
Yeah. Don't give me the Oprah Winfrey look. You're going, you're coming back on. Well, guys, I want to definitely give you a programming note. Next Wednesday, our normal live that we would do when we have a guest on, we'll be doing something a little bit different. All right. So check us out next Wednesday. We won't have a guest on next Wednesday per se, but you guys can come and join us if you want to jump on and just do a little less chat. The following Wednesday, Africa Moore will be on and she will be talking to us. And I'm looking forward to. We have many guests and many lineups, and that's why we're kind of slowing it down a little bit because we got to look at the schedule so we can get everyone on. I'm so happy for everyone who is emailing us saying that they want to talk about their glow. So I'm looking forward to April. It's coming up. It's going to be a big month for us because we're going to be celebrating and partying all month. Yes, Africa will be on. So I'm looking forward to that. Guys, just remember that the glow doesn't define me, I define the glow. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this podcast. Bye.